Hey there, this is Tech Jazz coming to you with another modern deck tech video for Selesnyan population powered by servos. To start, I will go through what each card is and what it does, and then explain the base point of the deck. To start, we have Chief of the Foundry, who is 3 mana for a 2/3 whose artifact creature construct, who then says other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. Next, we have Master Trinketeer, 1 white, 2 colors for a 3/2. Servos and Thopters you control get +1/+1, and then he says tap 1 white, 3 colors, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Next, we have Wayfaring Temple, 1 white, 1 green, 1 colorless for a star. Power and toughness is equal to number of creatures you control, and then he says, whenever Wayfaring Temple deals combat damage to a player, populate. For our last creature, we have Trostani, Selesnya's Voice. 2 white, 2 green for 2/5 legendary creature dryad. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to its defense. Then tap 1 white, 1 green, 1 colorless, tap her, populate. Now for back row, we have Cogworker's Puzzleknot and Servo Exhibition. Servo's Puzzleknot is 2 colorless for an artifact. Whenever it enters play, put a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token into play. Then it says tap 1 white, 1 colorless, sacrifice it, repeat the process. Servo's Exhibition. Sorry, I can't pronounce that word. Create 2 colorless servo artifact creature tokens. Intangible Virtue, 1 white, 1 colorless, enchantment. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1 in vigilance. Then we have Rootborn Defenses, 1 white, 2 colorless, instant, populate. Creature tokens you control are indestructible until end of turn. Angelic Purge, 1 white, 2 colorless, sorcery. As an additional cost to cast Angelic Purge, sacrifice a permanent. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment. Then Growing Ranks, 2 white or green, 2 colorless, enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep, populate. Then for land, we're running 4 Blossoming Sands, which comes in play. Tapped, when it comes in play, gain a life, adds green or white, 12 plains, 8 forests. Now I will explain what each card is primarily in the deck for. Starting out with Chief of Foundry, he's in here mainly because the servos are just 1/1, so he really quickly just pumps them up to being 2/2s. And when you really need to, he can be used to just block something. Master Trinketeer, same thing. He's in here to pump those servos up to 3/3s, assuming you have Chief of the Foundry on the field. And then if you don't have any way of actually tokening at the time being, you could always pay the 1 white, 3 colorless to create a servo token, which is steep, not really that great of an ability, but it's a worst case scenario. Wayfaring Temple. He's in here just because he's a walking beat stick, and on top of that, he's actually pretty good. A lot of people don't use him or like him. Personally, I think he's amazing, because for 3 mana, a star, assuming everything goes well, you drop him turn 3, turn 4, he's already a 4/4, and anytime he attacks, you can and deals damage to an opponent, populate. In other words, anytime he successfully deals damage, he gets bigger for it, which makes him amazing. And on top of that, if you're coming up against Eldrazi or something, he can easily grow to be just as big as an Eldrazi or Hydra. He can definitely hold his own in the deck. Trostani is primarily in here for her first ability, which is whenever another creature enters battlefield under your control, gain life equal to its toughness. The reason that's mainly in here is because even if you're just dropping them, the servo tokens as 1/1s, that's still 1, 2, even 3 life a turn, assuming you can do 3 a turn. But then you put Master Trinketeer and Chief of the Foundry and Intangible Virtue, make that 1/1 token into a 4/4 and drop 1 a turn. That is a 4 life you're gaining while dropping a 4/4 token. That right there is just amazing. And then the 1 white, 1 green, 1 colorless, tap her populate, it actually comes in handy. It sometimes, not always, but I mean, if you really need to and you just want an extra token, tap it. It's 1 mana cheaper than him, so you can possibly pull some else off while you're at it. But it's an extra token, and hey, it's anywhere from 1 to 4 life, depending on what all you have on the field. Now, Cogworker's Puzzleknot and Servo Exposition. That card. Sorry, I so cannot pronounce it. Both of them are in here just to create the tokens. It's pretty straightforward. They're in here to make the populate useful. Intangible Virtue in here to pump those creatures and also give them vigilance, so you could easily start swinging on the offensive while keeping defenders. Rootborn Defenses is in here for complete defensive purposes. The 3 mana to populate, which a little steep, but you get a token, and on top of that makes them all indestructible until end of turn. That can easily handle something that's in your way. Now, Angelic Purge, I'm kinda iffy on this card, mainly because it's a sorcery. 1 white, 2 colorless, to an additional cost, sacrifice permanent. You're tokening servo tokens, that doesn't matter. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment. That is pretty good. Again, my only issue, sorcery. I would prefer an instant, just because it gives you more wiggle room to play other things. But if I took it out, I would probably replace it with Unmake. Only issue is Unmake is 3 white mana in a deck like this, so yeah, granted we're running more white than green. It's still a steep price to pay for this deck. Growing Ranks. This card is in here mainly just to, well, self-explanatory, grow your ranks. Just dropping 1 of those and assuming you're spending your time dropping more things, that 1 token a turn can instantly win you the game, because every turn drop another one, you double up on them, that's 2 tokens a turn, triple up on them, that's 3 tokens a turn. Your opponent will have a very difficult time overcoming it. Overall, issues the deck displays is there's not really many issues. I mean, it can be decently, it has a decent early game off of Servo Exposition and Cogworker's Puzzleknot, powered off of Intangible Virtue, or even Master Trinketeer or Chief of the Foundry. Overall, it has everything it needs: life gain, creature pump, destruction, defense mechanisms, overpowering tokening. Overall, there's not really anything needed to be changed to the deck. Biggest reason I chose servos though for this deck is I know selesnya has way better support for centaurs or even saplings, but I wanted to show that the servos could potentially be a heavy hitting group just as much as they could. Mainly because I've been playing the Kaladesh block, or set I should say, and overall it's a very slow set in my opinion. They gave servos to be the dominant tokening group in it, but they're just really slow, have a lot of flaws, which I do hope is fixed in the next Kaladesh set, which I'm really hoping they do, because servos being primarily black-white would make them very interesting to see what support they get in the next set. Also, again, reason I'm going green-white with is just because better support for the setup. If servos had a stronger creature base, I would have probably gone black-white, but I just don't agree with their creature base. I mean, their best card is their Angel of Invention, which personally, in my opinion, is just a bad knockoff of Angel of Jubilation, which does relatively the exact same thing and just overall is a better card. But overall, I will admit this deck can be slow at times, but it is overall a decent design, very cheap to build. I believe the most expensive card here is, I wanna say, Trostani, sitting at about $2 or $3, followed by Intangible Virtue at like $1.50. Everything else in here is 10, 25-cent cards, very cheap deck. So overall, it's pretty decent, very cheap. Cards I do suggest possibly running in is maybe something like Doubling Season, some that doubles your tokens, which overall, if I had to take anything out for it, it would probably either be Rootborn Defenses or maybe Growing Ranks. Since it is artifacts, for the money, it's like a $4 card. I'm not entirely sure on price, so if you know the actual price, please leave a comment saying what it is. There's a 1-cost drop white instant from, I don't remember the set, but it's called Dispatch. 1 white, tap target creature. If you control 3 or more artifacts, exile that creature instead. You're gonna be tokening a ton of artifacts. You have 2 right there. You can easily pay for that cost just to exile creature, which, I mean, it's a iffy on price. I would honestly pick it up just to take Angelic Purge out, which you do lose your artifact slash enchantment removal in the deck, but you can easily replace that with a Naturalize or Revoke Existence, something that's an easy 2-drop that just exiles or destroys an artifact or enchantment. Creatures, really the only creature I would suggest really that could really be taken out just because of not being needed as much would be Chief of the Foundry. Overall, I really don't know what to put in place of him. He's preferably something smaller, possibly a Toolcraft Exemplar, the 1-cost drop dwarf from Kaladesh, who says he's a 2/1, and if you control an artifact, he gets like +2, +1, or he gets something like that, and then if you control 3 or more artifacts, he gains First Strike, which would be a great one drop, followed in by these, making it a great turn 2, turn 3, drop some Alstat tokens, or even a Wayfaring Temple or some. You could easily start overpowering very early in the game. So that's the deck. If you have any questions or comments you would like to make about the deck, please leave it down below, and please subscribe. Thank you.